Once upon a time in the bustling city of Lagos, there lived a young man named Emeka. Like many of his peers, Emeka had dreams as vast as the Lagos skyline, but life, in its stubborn ways, had cornered him into working as an apprentice in a dusty mechanic shop in Mushin. The clang of spanners and the hum of engines defined his days, but Emeka's heart burned with a desire for something more, something grander. Every December, Emeka would pack his small bag, leave behind the grease-stained overalls, and board a rickety bus heading east to his ancestral village, Umueke. There, the air was sweeter, the pace slower, and the people kinder. But Emeka wasn't just going home. He was stepping into a different life. In Umueke, Emeka wasn't the apprentice sweating under the Lagos sun. He became Emeka the accountant, a man who supposedly worked in faraway Europe. With a tailored suit borrowed from a friend and shoes polished to a mirror shine, he told tales of boardroom meetings in London, skyscrapers in Frankfurt, and winters in Paris. The villagers, unaccustomed to questioning such polished narratives, believed him wholeheartedly. The young women of Umueke were especially enthralled. Emeka had charm, a Lagos-owned confidence, mixed with village-born wit. He spoke of investment portfolios and tax audits, sprinkling in just enough big words to sound impressive. His fabricated stories were irresistible. One by one, the ladies of Umueke fell for Emeka. To them, it was a ticket out of the village, a promise of a better life, and the embodiment of dreams they dared not articulate. Emeka's charm was his greatest weapon, but it also became his undoing. Each December, he would arrive in Umueke with a suitcase full of second-hand clothes bought from Lagos markets, parading them as the latest fashion from Europe. His stories grew more elaborate with every visit. "I just closed a major deal in Frankfurt," he told Ada one night under the moonlit skies. "By Easter, I'll send for you, and we live in a house so big, it has stairs that sing when you climb them." To Nkem, he painted a picture of life in Paris. "The streets there are made of gold," he said, his voice low and conspiratorial. "When we marry, I'll show you how the Eiffel Tower looks when it sparkles at night." To Chinwe, his promises were more personal. "I've already saved enough to build a house in Lagos," he whispered one evening, holding her hand. "We'll raise our children far away from this village life." What Emeka didn't realize, however, was that his growing web of lies was becoming harder to manage. The women began comparing notes, sharing their dreams, and the promises that Emeka had whispered into their ears. Yet, they held on to hope, believing that Emeka was the man who would deliver them from their struggles. But with promises came actions, or lack thereof. Months would pass after Christmas, and none of Emeka's grand plans ever materialized. There were no letters, no plane tickets, no trips to Lagos or Europe. By the time the next Christmas rolled around, Emeka's words were the only currency he could offer. It was only a matter of time before the consequences of his deception began to surface. By the following December, the whispers had grown louder. Ada, the quiet daughter of a farmer, was no longer able to hide her growing belly. Nkem's once trim figure now spoke of impending motherhood. Chinwe too was expecting. But they were not alone. 7 others, each a believer in Emeka's fantastical tales, were also pregnant. The truth, like the harm Emeka had caused, could no longer be hidden. The village elders, suspicious of the rumors, began to piece together the truth. Parents demanded answers. The women he had deceived began to speak out, yet no one dared to confront Emeka directly until his next Christmas visit. By the time Emeka arrived, the village was no longer the welcoming sanctuary he once knew. Instead, it had become a powder keg of anger and betrayal, waiting to explode. When Emeka stepped off the bus that Christmas, his usual confident grin was firmly in place. He adjusted his borrowed suit, ready to charm the villagers once again. But instead of a parade of adoring smiles, he was met with a strange, tense silence. The children who normally ran to greet him lingered at a distance, their wide eyes full of curiosity and apprehension. The village square was already abuzz with activity. The elders sat in a semicircle under the large Iroko tree, their expressions stern and unreadable. Families huddled together, whispering as they cast weary gazes at Emeka. His heart began to race, but he pushed the feeling aside. Emeka, called the village chief, his voice cutting through the murmurs. Chief Okonkwo was a man whose words carried weight. He had seen decades of life in Umweke, and his judgment was rarely questioned. "Ha, chief," Emeka replied, forcing a smile as he approached. "I see the village is as lively as ever." The chief did not smile. "Lively indeed," he said. "But it is not joy that brings us here today. It is your actions." The crowd murmured. Emeka's smile faltered. "My actions? Chief, I don't understand." "You will soon," the chief replied, gesturing for the women to step forward. One by one they came. Ada, a belly full with child. Nkem, clutching a shawl to cover her shame. Chinwe, her eyes red from weeks of tears, and behind them 7 more young women, all bearing the visible marks of Emeka's deception. The village erupted into angry whispers. Emeka felt his knees weaken as the weight of the moment hit him. "Is it true, Emeka," the chief began, "that you had promised each of these women a future you had no intention of delivering? That you spoke of marriage, of wealth, of children raised in cities far from here, all the while knowing it was a lie?" "Chief, hi, Emeka stammered, his voice cracking. "Answer the question," thundered the chief, his voice carrying the authorities of the ancestors. The silence was deafening. Emeka looked around, hoping for an escape, but there was none. The crowd's eyes bored into him, unyielding and unforgiving. Finally, he sank to his knees. "Yes," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "It's true, I lied. I just wanted to be someone they admired, someone important." The chief shook his head, his expression a mix of anger and disappointment. "Do you not know that lies, no matter how grand, will always unravel? You have brought shame to yourself and harm to these women and their families. What do you have to say for yourself?" Tears welled up in Emeka's eyes. I was tired of being the mechanic apprentice, the one everyone looked down on. He said, I wanted them to see me as successful, as someone worth respecting. I never meant for this to happen. But it has happened, the chief said firmly. Now you must face the consequences. If you enjoyed this story, kindly click on the like button, drop your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to this beautiful channel for more African tales. Thank you.